is time to continue on with our 2025-26 season previews with the Philadelphia Flyers. It's finally time to talk about my favorite team. I am beyond excited. I know Philadelphia probably won't be the greatest this year, but let's hop right in. The season previews are completely underway here. We are talking about all 32 teams and previewing their upcoming season. We have now done Anaheim up to Ottawa at this point alphabetically, so we're nearly 3/4 of the way done. So if you want to check those out, be sure to do so in the card up here. But that being said, then we are hopping into the Philadelphia Flyers to start off this preview. So the Philadelphia Flyers have been a team the last couple of years that has not been that great. They've missed the playoffs most of the last 5 or 6 years at this point, and it looks like they probably miss again this year, but the team is slowly improving. They're slowly getting better, and they should be pretty damn fun to watch this year, even though they won't be that great. So let's hop into the last 3 seasons for this team. In 2022-23, which is where we'll start off with this, the beginning, I guess you could say, of the Danny Briere era, they went 31, 38, and 13 for 75 points. They were 26th in the league. It was just yet again not another good season. They did nothing at the trade deadline. They fire Chuck Fletcher. They actually bring in like a whole new management. Danny Briere becomes the GM. Keith Jones is the president. And there's this whole new era of Flyers hockey that has really begun here. They go into that 2023 draft. They're optimistic. You know, you have the 7th overall pick with Danny Briere here. And you see this is a very good draft. And you're thinking we could get like a Ryan Leonard, or we could get maybe a Matvei Michkov. And he drops all the way down to 7. And they pick him up. And that day went down as a day that changed the Flyers forever. And we're not even at the point yet where Philly is winning with this kid. But this guy is going to be unbelievable. And the future and the core that they're building around this guy is unbelievable too. So in 23-24, it's the first year without Matvei Michkov, and obviously they're like, he's gonna be down the road in a couple of years. He's not coming for a little bit. So Philadelphia, it's time to be bad, build this team up, and then they can contend for the playoffs when Michkov comes over. But now that changed completely. The way we thought it was going to be changed entirely. In 23-24, they went 38, 33, and 11 for 87 points. They were 21st in the league. That year they missed the playoffs. But they were good. They were good to watch. They were fun. That season, especially ever since, the season where it was the COVID year, and they obviously, lost in the bubble. Apart from that year, this is the most fun year I've ever watched the Flyers hockey. Now, keep in mind, I got into hockey around 2017 when I was 10 years old. So, again, I haven't been around for that long, but this was one of the more entertaining seasons I've seen my team have, and we still missed. But that year, and I've said this so many times in videos about my team, I look back at that year as a waste. A waste. And it was the most fun year I've ever had, watching this Philadelphia Flyers team. And it was just such a waste because we could have used that year to be bad and potentially get a really high draft pick again, draft a Macklin Celebrini, draft a Ivan Demidov. We were good for no reason. It felt really annoying. The following year, 2024-25, was definitely a year where we fell back down to earth. They went 33, 39, and 10 for 76 points. They were 29th in the league that year. And again, that was a year where it was disappointing. It was beyond frustrating to watch that Flyers team that year. And obviously they missed the playoffs. You go into the lottery, you have high optimism. Maybe you can get first overall. They had the 4th best odds, and they fall to 6th. It's just so much unluckiness with the Philadelphia Flyers, it feels like, over the last, I would say, 20 years or so. But with that 6th overall pick, they draft Porter Martone. They draft Jack Nesbitt. I'm still a little bit on that pick. They have this pool of players. A lot of guys they signed, a lot of guys they drafted a while ago, like Devin Kaplan, Carson Dorwart. They drafted Shane Vinsagi, Carter D'Amico. You have guys over in Russia like Igor Zevragin. You have Nikita Grabankin, who just scored the overtime winner in the rookie game. They have this pool that doesn't have a lot of top-end talent. You don't have that genuinely elite franchise player in it. Yeah, you have Michkov, but he's not a prospect anymore. This pool is a pool that is very deep. And there's a lot of guys on here who I am very, very optimistic about. So again, I just wanted to preface that. If you haven't checked out the prospect pool, I recommend you do. That was one that did very well. I recommend checking that out. But overall, Philadelphia, now they're heading into a season where they could be a very fun team to watch. So looking at your management here for the Philadelphia Flyers, you have Danny Briere, who has been the GM since midway through 2022-23, where they fired Chuck Fletcher. They brought him in. Honestly, with Briere, I do believe that there have been moves where I have really supported, and there have been moves where I've been like, I don't like that. So I feel like with me, Briere, I am leaning towards the side of I really trust him. The majority of the moves that he has made, I have liked. So I just want to preface that. And then you have Rick Tocchet as your head coach, who was most recently hired in this offseason. He is going to be interesting. He's a guy who I wouldn't be shocked if Philadelphia goes on a run this year. And Rick Tocchet is highlighted as that. He's a good coach. He is a Flyer at heart. He played for the team in previous years. They love bringing back the veterans and bringing them and having them a part of the culture. Whether it's good or bad, they love to do that, and Rick Tocchet is one of those guys in here. So overall, with Briere and Tocchet in the front, with Keith Jones as the president, I have trust in this management. And with Chuck Fletcher through Alain Vigneault and John Tortorella and all the guys that they had back then, I liked it at the beginning, but I didn't like it at the end. And I had a lot of distrust in that management just looking through it, through my videos in the last, I would say, almost 6 years at this point. So, yeah, this is the management where I've had the most trust in it in my entire fandom of being a Flyers fan. And that goes back to the Ron Hextall days and the Fletcher days. I have never had this most trust in a management in a very long time. Looking at your key arrivals and key departures here, we're going to put them in the same category because, again, it's not really that big. It's only 6 players total. So starting off here with your key arrivals list, you have Trevor Zegras, Christian Dvorak, Dan Vladar, Noah Juulsen, and Dennis Gilbert are the guys who were most recently acquired here for the Flyers. So Trevor Zegras is the big guy. He is the guy who everybody's looking at and saying that this kid is going to be phenomenal. Now, I have my concerns with the injuries and those issues, but I'm actually really excited to see how he's going to do this year. I feel like in Anaheim, it just wasn't working. He had a lot of coaches that weren't exactly friendly towards the way he played. And I'm not going to say that Tocchet is exactly oh, I support all the things you do and all that. But he's better than Tortorella, first of all. But I do think that Zegras, this is a system and a group of players that he can thrive with. Thrive. I've had trouble saying that for a while. Thrive. He can thrive with this system. So I like it. Christian Dvorak, that got a ton of criticism when it was signed. It is a high AAV. I will not deny that. That is way too much money for Christian Dvorak. But this is a guy who played really well under Rick Tocchet in Arizona. And as somebody who is a Mammoth fan, former Coyotes fan, he saw Tocchet and Dvorak in Arizona. He was great. And the Coyotes got a first-round pick from Montreal for them. Now, that was Marc Bergevin. I understand that. But if Dvorak does really well this year, Philadelphia can move him. And if it's a seller's market, you can move him for a lot as a 3C. So if he does well this year under Rick Tocchet, that could turn into a great deadline acquisition. Daniel Vladar, they needed another goaltender in the system. They did. I think with the guys that they had to get somebody else in there. Fedotov will be in the AHL. Kolosov will be as well if he's even over here. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense getting Vladar. He'll be the 1B or backup, depending on how you want to look at it. And then Juulsen and Gilbert are just kind of depth players. I think Juulsen will play, but I think more or less those guys will be depth acquisitions. And then you look at your key departures. You have Ryan Poehling and Jacob Pelletier are the guys who are no longer on the Flyers. So Poehling, I have nothing but respect for Ryan Poehling. He is somebody who I have been a massive fan of for the last few seasons. He's always a fourth liner or a bottom sixer who just works hard, and you respect that. He was a guy in Philadelphia that we highly respected. So I think that he's going to do very well. He's actually signed the back of this jersey. So I do want to preface that. And so is Jacob Pelletier as well. Jacob Pelletier is in the back of this one too. When I went to the Flyers Charities Wives Carnival. That was great, by the way. Meeting some of those players. It was wild. But honestly, these are two guys that I met personally. I had a good conversations with. and I wish nothing but the best. Paling is off to Anaheim. Peltier is off to Tampa Bay. We'll talk about them soon. I think that's a good ad for Tampa Bay, though. He's going to do well. I think he was somebody who just didn't get the ice time in Philly. But overall, I am looking forward to seeing how this team's new ads add up. We'll have to see. So now you take a look at your depth chart here for the Philadelphia Flyers. This was made by the Hockey News. It was not made by me. I do have some influence on it because, again, I am a fan of this team. I understand this team way more than I do like a team like Calgary or Winnipeg. Like, I understand this team way more than I would do a lot of other teams in the league. So let's go down the list here. Starting off on your left wing side, you have Tyson Foerster, you have Owen Tippett, Nick Deslauriers, and Alex Bump as your 4 wingers there. Then you have Carson Dorwart as your extra guy there on that left wing side. So going through it here, Foerster, I've heard rumors of injury. I don't think he's hurt heading into this year. I know he's dealing with something, but I don't think he's going to miss any time this year, in my opinion. So that's something you obviously want to factor in there too. You look at guys like Owen Tippett, who had a rough season last year. I think he's going to do good again this year, though. I think he will bounce back with a guy like Zegras on his lineup, so that's definitely something you want to look at there as well. Deslauriers, I don't know if I like him on that third line. I would put Bump over him, in my opinion, but he's a fighter. He's a hard worker. I guess that's okay. And then Alex Bump was a guy who in Western Michigan last year was great and was so entertaining to watch and looked like a veteran, looked like an NHLer. He could be fun this year. He could be an underrated player. And then Carson Dorwart played games last year for Philadelphia towards the end. I liked him a lot there as well. So overall, the left wing side, I think, in my opinion, is pretty solid. Your center core now. You start off with Sean Couturier, Trevor Zegras, Christian Dvorak, and Noah Cates. Round out your first 4. Then you have Rodrigo Abels as your extra center there, your 5th line center at that. So Couturier has had his major criticisms. I think with Tortorella gone, and Tortorella did not like Couturier. I just think that's the case. I think he will do well. I think he's still trying to get acclimated. I thought he played much better last year than he did the year before. So I'm expecting a pretty good 2-way season out of Couturier. Zegras, one of the biggest X factors with this Flyers team. Definitely a guy who you're going to want to look out for here if you're any other NHL team. He could be very dynamic with Philadelphia. He could be very dynamic with the Flyers. So I'm excited to see how he's going to do. Again, Dvorak, he could be a good 3C, and if he doesn't work out, he's on a 1-year contract. That's the same way with Trevor Zegras, too. They're both on 1-year deals. If they don't work, it's fine. They didn't give up a lot for him anyways, so I'm not really that mad if they don't work out. I think this team will be okay if that doesn't happen. And then Noah Cates, good 4th liner. He's been a hardworking guy, good defensive style, good 2-way play. I like Noah Cates. A big fan of him for sure. And then Abels played consistent hockey last year for the Flyers, so I'm expecting to see him in at least maybe 5 to 10 games this season if somebody does get injured. But overall, very solid center core in my opinion. On your right wing side, you have Travis Konechny, Matvei Michkov, Bobby Brink, Garnet Hathaway, and Jet Luchenko as your extra guy there. So Konechny is Konechny. He is like a lower level version of Matthew Tkachuk. And I might be controversial for saying that, but he plays that chippy, physical, annoying style, but can also score and play some good offense as well. I don't want to say he is like exactly like Matthew Tkachuk, but he does kind of feel like him in my opinion. And shout out to Porter Martone, who I feel like has those kind of remnants of Tkachuk in his game as well. Michkov will be great this year. Again, I'm expecting 40 goals probably, maybe 30, 35, maybe 40 is a little too high. But I think this kid was phenomenal last year. I do believe, and I know, like, I think Lane Hudson was great. I think Celebrini and Wolf were great. But Michkov deserved to be a finalist. And it sucks because last year was just so crazy. But I still believe Michkov deserved to be one of those finalists. It's unfortunate the way it went, but that's just my opinion. Anyways, Bobby Brink, good 3rd liner, is hard worker, can score, provide secondary offense. Garnet Hathaway is one of those guys too, who just works hard, is a fan favorite in Philadelphia. I love Garnet Hathaway in my opinion. And then Luchenko has that like 2-way defensive type of style to him. Very good penalty killer, very good passer. Could be fun this year with Lehigh Valley. I think he's going to go play in Guelph maybe for another year. But overall, I think Luchenko is one of those guys you want to watch out for. If he can make the team, it's not impossible because he literally did last season for 4 games. So that could be interesting there as well. But we'll have to see. Again, This forward core, I'm biased, but I think it looks solid. I don't think it's as bad as it's been in previous years, as long as everybody pans out. If everybody can work out and play the way we know they can, then this is a pretty good forward core. Then you take a look at their defensive core. You start off on your left shot side. You have Cam York, Nick Seeler, Igor Zamula rounding out your first three. Then you have Emil Andre as your extra guy there on the left wing side. So Cam York, I think, really didn't play well last year under John Tortorella. Had a rough stretch of things. I think he's going to be a player who takes a step this year. I think he does. I think he's going to play well defensively and be a good player on Philadelphia. So I'm a fan of him for sure. Nick Seeler, kind of the same thing. Good defensively, good defensive style, can fight as well. Not really a big problem with him. And then Zamula, I thought he was good last year. Good mentor for Michkov. Was one of those Russians that was with him. I think he'll be a good third pairing guy. And then Andre, it just does suck because, like, Andre, when he's in the lineup, is great, but he never can stay in the lineup. And I feel like it's just because of all the guys that Philly has. It sucks, but it's honestly the unfortunate truth, to be honest with you. On the right shot side, you have Travis Sanheim, Jamie Drysdale, Noah Juleson, and Rasmus Ristolainen are your four guys with an asterisk next to Ristolainen. So Sanheim could be pretty exciting. Honestly, I think that he is their number one and best defenseman. I do want to say, like for Drysdale, he is going to improve. He had a good second half last year. I think that people are going to be shocked at seeing how he's going to be this season. I think he's one of those guys. He's my sleeper pick for the Flyers and a guy who I think could be really good. And with his best friend on the team now, I think it looks good. So we'll have to see there what happens. Juleson, I do want to say Andre can play the right shot side too. He's one of those guys who's versatile. So I could see Andre over Juleson, but I have Juleson there for now. I think he's going to be a decent 6th or 7th defenseman. And then Rasmus Ristolainen with an asterisk. He has had some injury problems, especially over the last year. I think for him, I think defensively not that great, but he was practicing today at the time of recording of this video, September 12th. So he was practicing, and I think that is very notable, so I do want to keep that in mind there. But overall, your defensive core, I think it could use some work, but it's not terrible. It's not the worst one in the league, in my opinion. Your goaltending for the Philadelphia Flyers has been one of the biggest criticisms. I'm going to try and avoid from going too in-depth from it because it is one of my biggest questions. You have Samuel Ersson, Dan Vladar, Ivan Fedotov, and Alexei Kolosov are your four guys in Philadelphia's system. So, Ersson and Vladar, I do believe that those two are going to be like a 1A, 1B. I don't think Ersson's going to come in there and play immediately like a full-time role. I just don't think that. I think that this is going to be a 1A, 1B situation. I think Vladar is good enough to be a 1A, 1B, so that could be fun. We'll have to see what happens there, but honestly, I'm looking forward to that. And then Fedotov and Kolosov will just be down there if someone gets hurt. And I think, again, that will happen. We'll see Fedotov probably play a couple of games. Kolosov, I don't even know if he's even going to report. I've seen depth charts have him there, but I don't know anything. I really hope he doesn't. I'm not a fan of Kolosov. I've been made that publicly on the YouTube channel. I will make that public whenever I make videos here on the channel if Kolosov's still on the team. Yeah, I'm just not a fan of the guy. I just don't like him. But yeah, overall, the goaltending, I am still very questionable about it, to be honest with you. So then that being said, let's take a look at the biggest questions following the Philadelphia Flyers. And the number one question for me is, will the goaltending improve? Now, the goaltending was like a huge factor last year, but it wasn't the only factor. The defense wasn't that great either, so I do want to say that. But Ersson, Fedotov, and Kolosov combined for one of the worst team save percentages in the league last year. It was brutal. It was very bad. And I feel like if this team is going to take a step, the goaltending needs to improve. It does. There's no way to admit it. There's no way to deny it. The goaltending has to improve. It's not an if. It's not a, maybe. It has to if they want to take a step. It has to. So, I still have the optimism there in Ersson. I still believe that he can be this team's starter. I think last year was just a rough year. I see 23-24 the way he played. It wasn't a fluke. I think he can get back to that. So we'll have to see there. Vladar will be a good backup too. I'm not going to deny that whatsoever, but that's my thinking. But the other one is, how will the team's special teams do? One of the most notable things over the last 3 seasons, longer than that, is the power play. the power play, and it has been bad in every single, division. Every single level of this organization. Down from the Flyers to the Royals. It has just been not good. And as somebody who has been a reporter for the Reading Royals, I'll be making videos on that this season too. Power plays are not existent. They're not good in any level, even the Phantom. So I do believe that they will improve. I think Tocchet brought in his guy from Vancouver who coached Quinn Hughes, coached JT Miller, Elias Pettersson, Brock Besser, a lot of notable other players there as well. So I think that it will improve. I think it definitely will. I hope so at that, because if I have to deal with the power play again this year, I'm going to turn off my TV. And if it's a Watch with Nordic stream, I'm just going to end the stream, because I can't deal with that power play being that bad for another season. I just can't. I thought Michkov did a really good job. I thought he scored a lot of good goals in the power play, but it has to improve. It has to improve. So those are the biggest things for me. They have to improve if this team wants to make the playoffs, or even just take a step in the right direction. So that being said, then it is time for the biggest question. Playoffs, standings, Cup. Those are the things that we're asking ourselves here about the Philadelphia Flyers. So Cup, no. Playoffs, no. I don't think playoffs happen. I've seen a lot of people say that playoffs can happen. I'm not going to deny that because anything's possible, but I think it's unlikely. I just don't see this team taking that big of a step. I don't think it's impossible, but I just don't see it happening. I think there's too much things that need to go right for it to happen. The goaltending has to improve. The special teams need to be better. Zegras and Dvorak and the new ads need to be really good. The defense needs to improve as well. Rick Tocchet needs to coach this team. A lot needs to happen for this team to make the playoffs. But I do believe that they will be better. And I really do believe, again, it goes back to what I said about Danny Briere and Rick Tocchet. I believe in this management. I believe in the organization to improve. I believe they have been. With guys like Bump and Grabankin and the trades they made, drafting Michkov, Luchenko, even though I've had my thoughts on that, Nesbitt, Martone. This team has the framework together for a really good roster. A really good roster. I feel like they're honestly maybe a big free agent away from being a really high playoff bound team. I believe that. And even then, if it comes to the draft too, that's fine. But I do think this team is getting better as the years go on. I think we're going to see playoffs in Philadelphia by early as 2027. I think they make the playoffs not this year, but the next year. Honestly. It would depend, what moves they make, but I'm confident that I think if they make the right moves, they'll be in the playoffs in 2 seasons. So I want to know your guys' thoughts in the comment section down below. Do you agree with what I said? I know this is a very long video, a longer video comparatively speaking to a lot of the other previews we've done, but this is my favorite team. Of course, I'm going to have more thoughts on them than I do the Ottawa Senators or the Rangers or the other teams that I've done before this. But let me know your thoughts down below. Thank you all very much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to like the video down below, subscribe if you are new, but regardless, that is it for me. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.